Hello friends. What happens when two powerful, deeply driven individuals, both born in the year of the snake, come together, but under the opposing zodiac signs of Aries and Taurus? Is this a fiery love story destined to burn bright, or one that smolders in slow tension and silent battles? The Aries Snake and Taurus Snake are two of the most magnetic and enigmatic combinations in the entire zodiac, but are they actually compatible, or just dangerously attracted to each other? Let's pull back the curtain on this electrifying duo and explore their chemistry in love, marriage, sex, friendship, business, and beyond. Because while they may both share the cunning charm of the snake, their elemental natures, one ruled by fire Aries, the other by earth Taurus, couldn't be more different. Love, magnetic pull, or misunderstood souls. When an Aries snake first locks eyes with a Taurus snake, the chemistry is palpable, like a sudden, silent thunderclap between two energies that recognize each other instinctively, yet aren't quite sure what they've just encountered. It's not quite love at first sight, but it is something. Something rare, something powerful, something that feels like the beginning of a story that could either become legend, or a cautionary tale. The Aries snake is bold, sharp, and endlessly fascinating. They walk into a room like they own the atmosphere. Their words cut and charm in equal measure. They know how to capture attention, how to create tension, how to flirt with both danger and desire. This isn't just someone who wants love, they want legendary love. The kind that shakes the soul. That's their fire talking. Aries doesn't do lukewarm. They dive headfirst, intoxicated by passion, enchanted by the new, and always restless for more. The Taurus snake, meanwhile, moves with purpose. They don't chase, they attract. Their charm is quieter, slower, but just as potent. If Aries is a flame, Taurus is a velvet shadow, cool to the touch, but irresistible in its pull. They crave deep intimacy, emotional stability, and something that lasts beyond the first fireworks. Love, to them, is not a sprint. It's a garden they tend with care, knowing that real beauty needs time to grow. This is where the dance begins. The Aries snake may initially feel captivated by Taurus snake's mystery. Why can't I read them? They'll ask. Why do they feel so calm when everything in me is on fire? That mystery draws Aries in, but it also frustrates them. Aries wants action, declarations, dramatic gestures. Taurus prefers presence over performance. They don't need fireworks to feel love. They need reliability, physical closeness, and emotional safety. Taurus snake, on the other hand, is equally intrigued and wary. Aries snake is thrilling, too thrilling, perhaps. They seem to live in fast forward, never pausing, always plotting the next move. Taurus doesn't trust that kind of speed. They wonder, will Aries stay if I don't run with them? Or will they leave when things slow down? That fear makes them cautious, and their caution, in turn, makes Aries even more restless. Yet despite these differences, or maybe because of them, the attraction is magnetic. Both of these snakes carry an aura that's impossible to fake. People are drawn to them for reasons they can't explain. That same magnetism pulls them toward each other. And when they come together, it's not just physical, it's psychic. There's an intuitive understanding that goes beyond words. A feeling that, deep down, they recognize something of themselves in the other. But recognition isn't the same as compatibility. Aries wants passion that moves. They want spontaneous adventures, midnight confessions, high-stakes romance. Taurus wants love that settles into the bones. Quiet nights, consistent affection, predictable warmth. Aries dreams in lightning bolts. Taurus dreams in candlelight. And this difference in pace becomes their biggest challenge and potential gift. If Aries pushes too hard, Taurus retreats. If Taurus slows down too much, Aries pulls away. But when they find a rhythm, when Aries learns the power of slowing down, and Taurus embraces the thrill of moving faster, their love becomes something few others can match. They'll discover that they aren't opposites. They're complementary energies. Fire warms the earth. Earth fuels the fire. Aries shows Taurus how to leap into passion without fear. Taurus shows Aries how to build something that won't burn out. Still, it takes effort. Real effort, because both snakes are proud, secretive, strategic. They don't open up easily. They play their cards close. They might fall in love deeply, but not say it, or say it, but not act on it in the way the other understands. Miscommunications are frequent, not because they don't care, but because they care differently. And let's not forget ego. Aries Snake has a powerful one, driven by ambition and a need to lead. Taurus Snake has a quieter ego, but it's no less stubborn. They won't chase after love. They won't be rushed. If they feel disrespected, they'll shut down, and Aries won't even know why. But underneath the missteps is deep potential. If Aries Snake can learn to be patient, not just in action, but in presence, they'll find that Taurus Snake offers a kind of love that's rare, unwavering, sensual, loyal to the end. And if Taurus Snake can learn to trust a little sooner, risk a little more, and allow Aries' fire to light up their world, they'll experience love as an adventure, not just a ritual. This love can become a sacred contradiction, stable and wild, predictable yet exhilarating, soft and sharp all at once. They'll learn that love isn't always about understanding, it's about appreciation. It's not always about being the same, it's about choosing each other anyway. In a world full of shallow matches and fleeting flings, the Aries Snake and Taurus Snake have the rare chance to build something with real depth, real heat, and real permanence. But only if they stop trying to change each other, and instead learn from each other. Because when curiosity becomes admiration, and admiration becomes commitment, that spark from the very first glance can ignite a flame that neither time nor conflict can extinguish. They just have to let it burn at its own pace. Marriage, the art of compromise. This is where everything gets real. No filters, no fantasy, no romanticized version of connection. Just two people with very different temperaments, long-term instincts, and emotional wiring, trying to build a life together. When an Aries Snake marries a Taurus Snake, it's a clash of momentum versus method, heat versus grounding, and urgency versus deliberation. But if they're willing to lean into the friction instead of running from it, they might create something truly rare. A marriage that works because of the differences, not in spite of them. Let's start with Aries Snake. This is someone who thrives on progress. In a marriage, they'll constantly be looking for ways to expand, evolve, and elevate. They're restless in the best, and sometimes worst, ways. They might wake up one morning and announce a desire to start a business, change careers, or move across the country. They're fueled by ideas and adrenaline, and their drive is unmatched. In their eyes, marriage is not a place to settle. It's a place to build together, like co-founders of a lifelong empire. Now enter Taurus Snake, a creature of patience, preference, and predictability. They see marriage as a sanctuary, a place to exhale after life's chaos. They want emotional peace, financial security, and a steady rhythm. They aren't opposed to change, but they need it to be well planned, justified, and timed with care. They'll study every decision like a spreadsheet. They'll weigh the pros and cons. They'll want to know, how does this affect the long-term vision? That's where the tension lies. Aries Snake might see Taurus Snake as overly cautious, even slow to the point of stagnation. Why do you have to overthink everything? They'll ask, eyes flashing with frustration. Just trust the feeling. Let's move, let's go. But Taurus Snake hears that and wonders if Aries is even thinking about consequences. We have a life to protect, they'll reply, calmly but firmly. What's the rush? What are we risking if we leap without looking? This difference in tempo becomes the daily battlefield. Decisions become debates. Routines become power struggles. Aries wants to disrupt. Taurus wants to preserve. And unless both partners develop emotional fluency and respect for the other's instincts, resentment can fester. Aries may feel held back. Taurus may feel unsafe. And both may silently question if the other is truly on the same team. Yet, and this is crucial, these differences can be exactly what the other needs. Aries Snake pushes Taurus Snake out of their comfort zone. They encourage boldness, courage, and a sense of purpose that goes beyond routine. They bring in the spark, the excitement, and the risk that Taurus may need to grow beyond their self-imposed limits. On the flip side, Taurus Snake anchors Aries. They offer a sanctuary, a grounding force, and the kind of emotional steadiness that can keep Aries from burning out. They remind their partner that commitment isn't just about ambition, it's about showing up every day, especially when things get tough. But here's the truth that can't be sugarcoated: this balance isn't automatic. It's earned, it's negotiated, and it's built over time with an immense amount of patience, understanding, and, most importantly, communication. And this is where the snake in both signs complicates things. Snakes aren't emotionally transparent. They feel deeply, but they rarely show it. They prefer to process in silence, observe from a distance, and strike only when they've measured the situation. In marriage, this creates a problem. When conflict arises, neither the Aries snake nor the Taurus snake will be eager to open up and say, "Here's how I really feel." They'll bury it, they'll analyze it, and then they'll act from behind the curtain. That lack of vulnerability can be dangerous. Silent frustration turns into emotional distance. Disagreements go unresolved, and what could have been cleared up with one honest conversation instead becomes a wall between them. To truly thrive in marriage, this pair needs to learn emotional fluency. Aries snake has to slow down enough to listen, not just to what's being said, but what isn't. They need to resist the urge to fix things immediately and allow space for Taurus to feel safe expressing themselves. And Taurus snake must learn to open up sooner, not just when it's safe, but when it's necessary. They have to risk emotional exposure, even if it feels unnatural, because Aries won't always know what's beneath the surface unless they're told. And then, there's the question of roles. In this marriage, both partners are strong. Both want control, but they express it differently. Aries snake leads from the front, loud, fast, and with bold intention. Taurus snake leads from behind, quietly, strategically, with long-term vision. That can create power struggles if they don't clearly define who owns what in their shared life. Who manages finances? Who takes the lead on decisions? Who bends first when compromise is needed? If they avoid these conversations, tension builds. If they face them head-on, with mutual respect, they'll find that their leadership styles complement each other perfectly. Aries gives the vision. Taurus builds the blueprint. Aries ignites the fire. Taurus keeps it burning. But there's also beauty here. A marriage between an Aries snake and a Taurus snake, when nurtured, is anything but ordinary. It's a union of elemental magic, fire and earth, motion and stillness, desire and devotion. It's not always smooth, but it's never stagnant. They challenge each other, sharpen each other, and reveal layers in themselves they didn't know existed. Over time, if they stay committed to growing together rather than trying to change one another, they create a kind of high-functioning duality. Their love becomes a living system. Aries brings evolution, Taurus brings endurance. Aries protects the future, Taurus protects the home, and together, they forge a marriage that is not just about compatibility, it's about co-creation. In the end, the art of compromise isn't about giving up who you are. It's about building something larger than either of you could build alone. Aries snake and Taurus snake aren't natural soulmates. They're something even more powerful, chosen partners, forged through work, weather, and wild devotion. This kind of marriage doesn't just survive, it becomes unforgettable. Sex. Slow fire meets sudden flame. When an Aries snake and a Taurus snake come together sexually, it's less of a typical romantic scene and more of an elemental collision, two forces of nature approaching intimacy with entirely different rhythms, values, and instincts. This is not a casual connection, it's a charged, magnetic exchange between two people who sense something potent in the other, something hidden, something primal. And when they finally act on that tension, the room changes. The temperature rises, but while the chemistry is undeniable, the expression of that chemistry couldn't be more distinct. Let's start with the Aries snake. In bed, they're a firestorm, fast, intense, and always seeking the edge of what's familiar. They crave adrenaline, novelty, and a sense of dominance that asserts both control and presence. Sex isn't just a physical act to them, it's a playground for power, emotion, and connection all wrapped into one. They're turned on by spontaneity, boldness, and a hint of danger. To the Aries snake, seduction starts in the eyes, with a smirk, a challenge, a dare. They like to be the one leading, initiating, taking the game to new heights. Their energy is relentless, their passion unfiltered, and their appetite for the unpredictable is insatiable. Enter the Taurus Snake, an entirely different experience. Where Aries is fiery, Taurus is smoldering. Where Aries is a lightning strike, Taurus is the slow, intentional flicker of candlelight. The Taurus Snake sees sex as a ritual, a sacred experience meant to be savored, not rushed. They revel in anticipation, in the layering of touch, in the richness of scent, taste, and sound. Physical pleasure to them is not about peak moments. It's about the build-up, the deepening, the emotional tether that grows with every whisper, every graze of skin. This fundamental contrast, one moving like a wildfire, the other like slow-burning coal, can lead to confusion at first. Aries might wonder why Taurus doesn't move faster, doesn't grab harder, doesn't react more immediately. Taurus might feel overwhelmed by Aries' intensity, wondering where the emotional undercurrent is, where the tenderness lives beneath the passion. If they aren't in tune, the experience can feel mismatched, even alienating, like speaking two different dialects of the same primal language. But here's where things get interesting. When both of them let go of their assumptions and start to listen, the dynamic transforms. Aries Snake, when truly invested, can learn to slow their rhythm, to lean into the moment rather than racing toward the finish. They begin to understand the power of stillness, of teasing, of taking their time. Taurus Snake teaches them that arousal can come from the absence of movement as much as the act itself. That the silence between gasps, the moment before the next touch, is just as powerful as the act of touching itself. Aries learns that less can be more, and that submission to stillness can be just as thrilling as dominance over chaos. On the other side, Taurus Snake finds that Aries introduces them to a world beyond their carefully constructed sensuality. They begin to unlock new expressions of themselves, ones that are raw, messy, and deeply thrilling. Aries encourages them to step out of the ritual and into the wild, to moan instead of murmur, to grab instead of glide, to lose control instead of always managing it. In Aries' passionate whirlwind, Taurus finds release. In Aries' fire, they discover the pleasure of combustion. Over time, this sexual pairing can evolve into something that defies language. Their connection becomes intuitive, almost telepathic. A glance across the room can signal everything. A touch can trigger an avalanche of sensation. They learn each other's bodies like instruments, understanding when to crescendo and when to pause. Aries brings the rhythm, Taurus brings the tone. Together, they compose a symphony. But this depth only happens when trust is present. Both snakes are guarded, both prefer control. In the bedroom, vulnerability is not easy for them, it's risky. And if either partner feels judged, rushed, or unseen, they'll retreat. Taurus may go silent, shutting down emotionally and physically. Aries may grow impatient, seeking stimulation elsewhere. So building a foundation of emotional intimacy, one rooted in respect and safety, is essential. Communication is key here, but not just the verbal kind. Aries and Taurus must become fluent in each other's physical language, learning what a breath means, what hesitation signals, what excites without being spoken. The best part? Once they master this, words become almost unnecessary. The experience becomes embodied, full spectrum, hypnotic. This is the kind of sexual bond that doesn't just scratch an itch, it changes you. It's the kind of connection that resets expectations. After being with each other, they may find other experiences pale in comparison, not because of what happened, but because of how deeply they felt it. Their styles may be mismatched at the start, but with patience and exploration, their differences don't create distance, they create depth. Aries teaches Taurus that sex is also about risk. Taurus teaches Aries that sex is also about reverence. And somewhere between reverence and risk, they find a space that belongs to only them. So yes, when these two get together in the bedroom, sparks fly. But more than that, flames rise, slow and sudden, unpredictable and sacred. If they honor each other's tempo, their union becomes not just satisfying, but unforgettable. And in the privacy of their shared space, where no one else sees, their love story is written not in words, but in sighs, gasps, stillness, and fire. Friendship, respect, rivalry, or both. Can a fire snake and an earth snake really be friends? Not just acquaintances, not just professional allies, real friends, the kind that stay up talking past midnight, that challenge each other's thinking, that show up when no one else does. The answer is yes, emphatically, yes, but it comes with a twist. This kind of friendship doesn't bloom effortlessly. It's complex, it's layered, it's charged with tension, not the kind that destroys, but the kind that shapes. This is the kind of friendship that sharpens both people like a blade to stone. From the start, there's an unmistakable mutual recognition between the Aries snake and the Taurus snake. These aren't surface-level individuals. They're observant, strategic, quietly intense. They notice each other's presence before words are ever exchanged. Aries snake walks in with fiery charisma and an undeniable magnetism. They command the space, even when they're silent. Taurus snake enters with cool confidence, a grounded presence, and an aura of self-control that borders on intimidating. Neither one is overly talkative, but both are watching, measuring, assessing, and in that first impression, something clicks. You're not like the others. That's how it begins, with fascination, with curiosity, but also with caution. Both snakes have pride, not loud, performative ego, but inward, armor-plated dignity. They don't let people in easily, especially not into the sacred territory of friendship. Aries snake will test loyalty with boldness, taking risks, initiating adventures, throwing curveballs into situations just to see how Taurus reacts. Meanwhile, Taurus snake tests friendship in subtler ways: consistency, reliability, presence during quiet moments. They measure friendship not by the highs, but by the steadiness of the bond. And here lies the tension that both fuels and complicates their connection. They deeply admire what the other has mastered, yet don't quite understand it. Aries snake admires Taurus's patience, their control, their ability to remain calm under pressure. They envy the way Taurus always seems unbothered, never flustered, never in a rush to prove anything. But at the same time, Aries grows restless. They may think, why are they so slow to react? Why do they hesitate? Can't they see the opportunity right in front of them? And this frustration can bubble up, especially when Aries is looking for a partner in crime and Taurus is still reviewing the pros and cons. Taurus snake, on the other hand, respects Aries' boldness, their initiative, their seemingly endless source of energy and vision. But that same boldness can feel like recklessness. Taurus may think, why are they always jumping into things? Don't they ever stop to think? And even if they never say it out loud, there's a steady stream of silent judgment. It doesn't come from disdain, but from concern, from a deep need for order and predictability. And then comes the unspoken competition. Yes, it's real. These two friends don't compete in obvious ways. They're not shouting or one-upping each other in public. But internally, both are very aware of what the other is achieving. Aries snake tracks Taurus's steady progress, their loyalty, their unshakable self-discipline. Taurus snake observes Aries' high-impact moves, their charismatic wins, and how quickly they can pivot and still land on their feet. They both wonder, quietly, could I do what they're doing, but better? That silent rivalry isn't toxic, it's motivating. If respected, it becomes a powerful force that pushes both people to rise higher. Aries takes more strategic risks because they know Taurus is watching. Taurus steps a little more boldly into leadership because Aries is setting a relentless pace. It's iron sharpening iron, but if envy creeps in, if one begins to belittle or resent the other's strengths, the friendship can quickly fracture. The key to this friendship working isn't about similarity, it's about respecting the difference. Aries must learn to appreciate Taurus's slower rhythm, not as a flaw, but as a strength. Taurus thinks deeply because they value longevity. They don't rush into plans because they're playing the long game. Aries benefits from this energy. It grounds them, gives their fire a fireplace to burn in rather than wild, destructive sparks. Taurus must learn to embrace Aries' unpredictability as inspiration. Aries acts fast because they see potential others miss. Their vision isn't impulsive, it's intuitive. Taurus gains from being nudged out of their comfort zone, from being reminded that life isn't always a spreadsheet. Sometimes, the best moments come from not knowing how it'll turn out. If they're willing to learn from one another, they become a remarkable pair of friends. Aries is the one who calls at 1 a.m. with an insane idea. Taurus is the one who actually makes that idea happen by 9 a.m. the next morning, with proper planning and snacks. Aries is the wind, Taurus is the anchor. Together, they create motion without chaos and structure without stagnation. And let's talk about loyalty. Once the bond is solidified, it runs deep. These two don't need to talk every day. They don't need constant affirmation. But when a crisis hits, they show up. Without asking, without delay. Taurus offers calm support, patience, and grounding. Aries brings fight, energy, and absolute refusal to let their friend fall apart. Their loyalty isn't loud, it's lived. But friendship also means understanding each other's limits. Aries has to respect Taurus's boundaries, their need for space, for emotional security, for structure. Taurus has to allow Aries the freedom to shift gears, to change, to sometimes disappear into a new mission or passion and return later with wild stories. The friendship can only survive if neither side tries to make the other change their fundamental nature. In the end, the Aries Snake and Taurus Snake don't have a simple friendship. They have a friendship built on contrasts, tested through disagreements, and shaped by mutual evolution. They become unlikely allies, one driven by fire, the other by earth, but both defined by the wisdom of the snake, deliberate, protective, and deeply intuitive. Respect and rivalry? Yes, both, always. But at its best, this isn't the kind of friendship you outgrow, it's the kind you grow into. And once it's forged, it becomes one of the most valuable connections either of them will ever have. Business, the power duo that could own the world. When the Aries Snake and Taurus Snake enter a business partnership, it's not just a collaboration, it's a strategic alignment of two of the most potent energies in the zodiac. This pairing is not about harmony in the traditional sense. It's about high-functioning contrast, a blend of heat and gravity, vision and structure, motion and stillness. And when they get it right, they don't just run a business. They build empires. The Aries Snake enters the professional arena like a force of nature. They are a visionary, a disruptor, and a strategist who thrives in the space between chaos and opportunity. Their ideas are fast, big, and often ahead of their time. They see angles other people miss. They're not interested in playing by the rules, they're interested in redefining them. Whether it's launching a startup, leading a marketing campaign, or orchestrating a hostile takeover, Aries Snake operates with speed, guts, and an instinct for timing that borders on prophetic. On the flip side, the Taurus Snake approaches business with a calm, calculated resolve. They don't rush, they don't gamble, but they build. Slowly, deliberately, and with remarkable endurance. While Aries is charging toward the horizon, Taurus is constructing the road underneath. They are planners, risk analysts, protectors of systems and assets. Their intuition is deep, often quiet, but razor sharp. They know what will last, and more importantly, why it will last. When these two combine forces, the result is magnetic. Aries brings the fire, ideas, momentum, daring leaps forward. Taurus brings the foundation, the processes, the checks and balances, the sustainability required to turn momentum into legacy. Aries will get the pitch meeting. Taurus will close the contract. Aries will ignite the spark. Taurus will keep the fire burning. But the magic doesn't happen without friction. And friction is inevitable. Aries Snake will want to move faster, always. They'll push new initiatives before the ink is dry on the last. They'll have 10 new concepts by breakfast. And they may grow impatient with Taurus's need to pause, to calculate, to sleep on it. Why aren't we acting yet? Aries will ask. Time is money. But Taurus Snake, who values precision over pressure, will quietly resist. They'll think, why leap when we haven't measured the landing? This difference in tempo can trigger power struggles. Aries may feel constrained, Taurus may feel bulldozed, and if neither acknowledges the other's strengths, trust starts to erode. The key is defining roles with surgical clarity. If Aries leads innovation, Taurus must be empowered to lead execution. If Aries is steering the ship, Taurus should be designing the map. When both roles are honored, they become co-architects of something extraordinary. Their communication style also differs dramatically. Aries Snake communicates in bursts, bold, persuasive, often impatient. They want decisions made now, and they prefer action over discussion. Taurus Snake is more contemplative. They think before they speak. They analyze outcomes, quietly observing before contributing. In a boardroom, this dynamic can work beautifully or destructively. Aries must learn not to confuse Taurus's silence with passivity. Taurus must learn to express disagreement early, before it festers into immovable resistance. Another challenge? Credit. Aries Snake likes recognition. They thrive in the spotlight and draw energy from external validation. Taurus Snake? Not so much. They prefer quiet authority, behind-the-scenes power. But that doesn't mean they don't care about being respected. If Aries takes all the credit and leaves Taurus feeling invisible, it's the beginning of resentment. Conversely, if Taurus refuses to acknowledge Aries' risk-taking, Aries will start seeing their partner as a liability rather than an asset. Mutual validation, spoken, written, celebrated, is not optional. It's essential. And yet, when this duo is aligned, their potential is staggering. In creative industries, Aries Snake is the brand visionary, the disruptive genius. Taurus Snake becomes the operational mastermind, the one who makes sure the ideas don't just dazzle but deliver. In finance, Aries might be the deal maker, the closer, the face of the firm. Taurus is the strategist, the system builder, the one who turns profits into platforms. In politics, Aries is the bold reformer. Taurus is the stabilizing voice of reason who ensures promises turn into policy. Their differences, when respected, create a feedback loop of success. Aries keeps the company from stagnating. Taurus keeps it from crashing. Aries opens doors. Taurus builds walls strong enough to protect what's inside. Aries is the campaign. Taurus is the infrastructure. One sells the dream, the other builds it into reality. But let's be honest, it takes ego management. Both snakes are proud. Both are used to being the smartest person in the room. Both have control issues, and both are capable of ruthless self-preservation when threatened. If they allow ego to dominate, they'll become adversaries. Aries will see Taurus as a drag on progress. Taurus will see Aries as a reckless liability. What began as a power duo becomes a cold war of strategy versus speed. However, if they stay humble, if they keep checking in, keep realigning, keep honoring the value the other brings, they won't just run a business. They'll redefine what partnership looks like in high-stakes arenas. This is not a relationship built on sameness. It's built on essential tension. And it's that tension that keeps the vision sharp, the systems strong, and the ambition alive. They balance risk with realism, vision with vigilance, action with intention. In the end, Aries Snake and Taurus Snake don't just build successful companies. They build legacies. They create systems that outlive trends, brands that outlast buzzwords, and strategies that shape markets. They're not just business partners, they're empire architects. And if they manage to protect their partnership from internal collapse, the world might just be watching the rise of a dynasty. Because when fire and earth combine with purpose, they don't compete, they conquer. Dark sides, when the snake bites back. It's not all fire and foundation, every powerful connection casts an equally powerful shadow. And for the Aries Snake and Taurus Snake, the darker sides of their personalities don't just threaten the relationship, they define its most dangerous terrain. This pairing has the potential to create something magnetic, visionary, and deeply committed. But when things go wrong, when the snakes turn inward instead of toward each other, the consequences are never loud. They're slow, chilling, and nearly impossible to reverse. Because when a snake strikes, it doesn't warn. It waits, and then it bites with precision. Let's start with the Aries Snake. On the surface, they're charismatic, fast-thinking, endlessly confident. But underneath that brilliance is a darker edge that surfaces when they feel threatened, blocked, or disrespected. Their greatest weakness? Control. Aries Snake needs to feel like they're leading, influencing, conquering, even in personal dynamics. If they sense they're losing their grip, they can become domineering, defensive, or emotionally cold. When challenged, they may not argue, they may strategize. Not in a healthy, open way, but in a calculated, manipulative one. They can gaslight without realizing it, spin facts to maintain superiority, or lash out verbally before even assessing the emotional landscape. And then there's their temper. Aries is ruled by fire. That fire can inspire, but when darkened by ego, it becomes volatile. If they feel ignored or undervalued, the Aries snake doesn't sulk. They explode, not always in public, but in ways that are sharp, pointed, and often hard to forget. They'll cut with words, shut down emotionally, or turn icy with their partner or friend, leaving the other person disoriented and unsure how things escalated so quickly. Now, turn to the Taurus snake. Their dark side isn't as loud, but it's just as intense. Taurus snake's greatest weakness is inertia. When they're wounded, threatened, or disrespected, they don't attack, they retreat. They shut doors quietly, freeze people out, and let silence speak volumes. They don't forgive quickly, and they never forget. This cold withdrawal isn't meant to punish, at least not consciously, but it often feels like punishment to the person left in emotional limbo. Taurus snake is also a master of passive aggression. They won't yell, but they'll remind you in subtle, cutting ways that you've crossed a line. They'll sabotage plans without admitting it, delay progress by withholding effort, or deliver biting commentary under the disguise of calm logic. And because they're so strategic, it's almost impossible to call them out without sounding overly sensitive or paranoid. Their shadow is one of silence, stubbornness, and emotional distance that can suffocate a relationship slowly and invisibly. Both signs, when pushed too far, become dangerous not in how loud they get, but in how quiet they become. What makes their dynamic especially volatile is that neither the Aries snake nor the Taurus snake is naturally vulnerable. They are secretive, proud, and fiercely self-protective. They don't like showing weakness. They don't like giving up control. And they definitely don't like letting others see how much they're actually affected. That means when emotional wounds are inflicted, they don't always address them head-on. Instead, those wounds are internalized, analyzed, weaponized. They may keep score, they may plot revenge, they may pretend to move on while quietly repositioning themselves to exit the relationship entirely. One of the most dangerous things that can happen between an Aries snake and a Taurus snake is betrayal, whether emotional, romantic, or strategic. These are not people who bounce back from broken trust with open arms and fresh hope. They retreat, they hold grudges, they cut people out of their lives completely. And when it's a slow fade rather than a dramatic breakup, there's almost no path back. The silence becomes permanent. The bridge is not just burned, it's demolished. Misunderstandings are another ticking time bomb in this pair. Because both snakes are highly private and emotionally reserved, they tend to assume rather than ask, to protect rather than express. One missed cue can spiral into months of misalignment. A simple slight can metastasize into a deep resentment. And neither wants to make the first move toward repair, because in their minds, to reach out first is to admit defeat. This standoff dynamic can result in emotional cold wars, silent, painful stretches of disconnection where nothing is openly said, but everything is felt. A Taurus snake may retreat into isolation. An Aries snake may throw themselves into work or other relationships. From the outside, it looks like nothing happened. But inside, both are bleeding from wounds they don't know how to reveal or heal. Jealousy is another shadow lurking in the background. Taurus snake, despite their calm exterior, is intensely territorial. If they feel replaced, overlooked, or emotionally abandoned, it stirs something primal in them. They may not confront their partner, but they will make them feel the distance. Aries snake, on the other hand, can become emotionally competitive. If they feel their value isn't recognized, they'll ramp up the charm elsewhere, not necessarily to cheat, but to remind themselves they still have power. When these dark patterns collide, it's like a game of chess with live ammunition. Every move is calculated, every silence loaded. And worst of all, because both snakes are capable of hiding their emotions so well, outsiders may never see the cracks until the entire structure collapses. To avoid this implosion, they must do what goes against their deepest instincts: be vulnerable. Share the fear behind the anger. Reveal the hurt behind the silence. Communicate not just to defend, but to connect. And most importantly, learn to forgive before it festers into resentment. Because by the time a snake bites back, the damage is often too deep to undo. Ego management is critical. Aries must learn that power isn't proven by domination, it's demonstrated through grace. Taurus must understand that silence isn't strength if it pushes people away. Both need to stop weaponizing emotion as a form of control and instead use communication as a form of trust building. Because here's the truth: when these two are in harmony, they're powerful. But when they allow the shadows to take over, they become each other's undoing. Not with drama, not with shouting, but with precision, distance, and emotional extinction. And in that silence, you won't find resolution. You'll find the wreckage of a connection that once had the potential to own the world. But the beauty? It doesn't have to end that way. If they choose self-awareness over strategy, honesty over control, and heart over ego, they can survive even the darkest storms. Because when the snake bites back, it's not just an act of defense, it's a test. A test of trust, of truth, and of whether this connection was built to endure, or to end. Life goals, clashing paths, or complementary visions. At first glance, it might seem like the Aries Snake and Taurus Snake are driving toward totally different destinations in life. One is flying down the highway, foot slammed on the gas, eyes on the next milestone. The other is cruising at a steady pace, checking the map twice, making sure the tires are inflated and the fuel tank is full. But look closer, and you'll see something deeper. They're heading in the same direction. Their paths may differ, their methods may clash, but their destination, success, security, meaning, is remarkably aligned. And this is where their union becomes not only possible but potentially extraordinary. The Aries Snake is a natural-born accelerator. They crave movement, visibility, and achievement. In their ideal world, life is a chessboard and they're always 5 moves ahead. Their life goals are often wrapped in impact. They want to make noise, shake things up, break molds, and lead from the front. Whether that means founding a company, becoming a public figure, creating a brand, or simply becoming the best at whatever they do, Aries Snake is driven by an internal need to matter. To win, to stand out. Status and leadership aren't optional, they're a calling. They don't dream small. Even their failures are often more spectacular than other people's successes. The Taurus Snake is slower, but no less ambitious. Their goals are rooted not in speed or spectacle, but in substance. Where Aries wants visibility, Taurus wants ownership. They're drawn to legacy, not just lifestyle. A Taurus Snake doesn't want to simply win the game, they want to own the field. Their dreams may be quieter, but they're deeper. They think in decades, not quarters. They want land, equity, family stability, financial independence, emotional peace, and material comfort that can be passed on. They're builders, not sprinters. But what they build, it lasts. These two different approaches can initially feel like direct conflict. Aries Snake may become frustrated with what they see as Taurus's hesitance, reluctance, or endless need to run the numbers. They might push for fast decisions, new ventures, or high-risk, high-reward strategies that Taurus simply doesn't trust. From Aries's perspective, Taurus can appear overly cautious, even stagnant. On the flip side, Taurus Snake may see Aries as reckless or unstable, someone who is too easily seduced by excitement and too quick to abandon something when the next shiny idea arrives. Taurus doesn't like to gamble with time, resources, or emotional investments. To them, Aries's velocity can seem immature or short-sighted. They'll think, what's the point of racing if you don't know where you're going to land? But here's the key insight. Underneath these contrasting behaviors lies a shared purpose. Both want to create something powerful. Both want to live well. Both want to shape their reality rather than simply react to it. The difference is how they get there. The magic happens when each partner learns to trust the other's life compass. Aries Snake teaches Taurus Snake to risk, to seize moments, to act before the world is ready, to trust instinct, not just spreadsheets, to leap toward greatness, even if the landing isn't guaranteed. Aries reminds Taurus that life doesn't always wait for the perfect moment. and sometimes, success comes to those who jump first and build wings on the way down. Taurus Snake teaches Aries Snake to hold, to stay, to invest deeper instead of wider, to nurture what's already blooming rather than always planting new seeds. Taurus reminds Aries that greatness isn't measured by how quickly you rise, but how well you endure. That some of the most extraordinary empires are built brick by brick, over time, in silence. Together, they strike a profound balance between aspiration and execution. Aries brings the fire of bold intentions. Taurus brings the earth to ground those dreams into structured realities. Aries says, "Let's go." Taurus says, "Let's make it last." And when they truly understand that they aren't in opposition, but rather opposite halves of a complete vision, their combined power is nearly unstoppable. Still, there will be friction. Aries may struggle to understand why Taurus resists change. Taurus may become weary of Aries' constant hunger for more. There may be moments where one outgrows the other, or feels held back. The solution? Communication and alignment, reassessing goals together, checking in not just on what they want, but why they want it. A shared calendar and shared dreams won't be enough. They'll need shared values, even if expressed differently. Aries may want to make $10 million to launch something groundbreaking and put their name on it. Taurus may want $10 million to buy land, retire early, and provide for the people they love. Same number, different dreams, but if they can understand and respect each other's motivation, they can support each other fully, even if they're walking at different speeds. This is where long-term compatibility is tested. Can Aries respect stability? Can Taurus honor risk? Can they take turns leading without making it a battle for dominance? Can they agree on milestones and celebrate progress that doesn't always look the same? The answer, if they're willing to evolve together, is yes. A resounding yes. Because in the end, both of them seek lives of meaning, beauty, influence, and peace. Aries may call it victory. Taurus may call it security. But either way, they're envisioning a future where they are in control of their destiny, surrounded by the things and people that matter, and living on their own terms. It's not a question of clashing paths or complementary visions. It's both. They do clash, but those very differences are what make their shared vision so powerful. One partner inspires action, the other ensures endurance. One ignites change, the other builds legacy. So, when the Aries Snake and Taurus Snake truly join forces, not just in love, business, or sex, but in life, they don't just dream big. They live big. They turn personal ambition into shared empire. And together, they don't just reach their goals, they redefine them. Final verdict: can Aries Snake and Taurus Snake make it work? The answer is yes, but it won't be simple, and it certainly won't be effortless. This pairing is not for the faint of heart or those seeking something easy and predictable. It is a high-stakes emotional contract, a dynamic brimming with contrast, charged with complexity, and full of rich, raw potential. When an Aries Snake and a Taurus Snake come together, they don't just navigate compatibility, they face the thrilling challenge of alchemizing their differences into strength. This is not a gentle blend of similarities. It's a transformative collision of elements: fire and earth, motion and stillness, instinct and calculation. And if they do the work, this match doesn't just work, it becomes unforgettable. To begin with, the nature of this connection is magnetic in the truest sense. Opposite forces drawn into the same orbit, fueled by intrigue and tension. Aries Snake sees in Taurus Snake a depth they didn't realize they were craving. An anchor, a steadiness, a wisdom. Taurus Snake sees in Aries Snake a spark they didn't know they needed. A flame that breaks routine, that introduces color to their grayscale logic. It's an attraction that feels fated, almost karmic. But magnetism alone won't make it last. This is a match built on growth through friction. The very traits that draw them together are the same ones that can push them apart. Aries' impulsiveness, impatience, and hunger for control can wear on Taurus's need for stability, predictability, and emotional peace. Taurus's slowness, caution, and resistance to change can frustrate Aries to the point of exasperation. These aren't minor annoyances. These are core differences in how each partner moves through the world, and without deliberate understanding, they can become sources of lasting tension. But here's the secret: those very points of tension hold the key to transformation. When Aries Snake slows down enough to listen to Taurus's logic and long-term thinking, they become more precise, more powerful, more effective. They stop burning out and start building smarter. When Taurus Snake steps out of their comfort zone and lets Aries pull them into the unknown, they become braver, bolder, more alive. They stop over-planning and start living. The friction isn't a flaw, it's the forge. Of course, this requires a rare level of emotional maturity. Both partners must choose self-awareness over ego, compassion over control. That's no easy task, especially when you consider that both the Aries Snake and the Taurus Snake tend to be deeply private, fiercely strategic, and not naturally inclined toward vulnerability. They both like power, they both like being right, and they both know how to protect themselves before they reveal too much. That's where things get tricky. Because real love, the kind that survives decades, storms, and setbacks, requires exposure. It asks both people to reveal the soft parts they usually hide, to admit fear, to express need. It asks Aries to say, "I don't have all the answers." It asks Taurus to say, "I'm willing to risk getting hurt." That's the emotional heavy lifting this match demands. It's not about compromise in the shallow sense of splitting the difference. It's about radical empathy, understanding your partner's worldview so well that you stop trying to change it and start learning from it. And when that happens, something rare occurs. The Aries Snake becomes a more grounded visionary, able to build empires without burning bridges. They become focused, strategic, and emotionally aware without losing their spark. The Taurus Snake becomes a more inspired realist, able to take chances without sacrificing their sense of self. They become lighter, more adventurous, and emotionally vibrant without losing their depth. Together, they don't just survive, they elevate. Their love life evolves into a ritual of opposites becoming one. Their arguments transform into moments of growth rather than division. Their business ventures grow smarter and more sustainable. Their home becomes a balance of warmth and structure, movement and stillness, passion and peace. The emotional connection, once forged through challenge, becomes unbreakable, not because it was easy, but because it was earned. Still, the relationship will always require maintenance. This is not a pairing that can coast. If they stop communicating, if they slip into old patterns of control, silence, or assumption, things can unravel quickly. Their shadows, Aries' temper and Taurus' withdrawal, can re-emerge without warning. So they must commit to regular check-ins, to honest conversations, to expressing love not just through action but through intention. Because when they are aligned, this is not just a good relationship, it's an elite one. One that challenges societal norms, breaks conventional molds, and sets a new standard for partnership. It becomes a force that inspires others. The kind of relationship that, from the outside, looks unlikely, but from the inside, feels inevitable. So if you're an Aries Snake falling for a Taurus Snake, or a Taurus Snake drawn into the orbit of Aries, don't run from the differences. Don't be scared of the friction. Don't mistake tension for incompatibility. Lean in, listen harder, give more, because what you're building together isn't ordinary. It's legendary. Curious to dive deeper into zodiac pairings like this one? Want to know how other signs mix under the Chinese zodiac? Then make sure to like, subscribe, and check out the rest of our videos. And don't forget to follow us on social media. We've got even more insights, quizzes, and behind-the-scenes astrological breakdowns waiting for you in the description below.